A sacred date. The date, a significant mystery of the all-wise Qur'an, became clear was again contained in the word Qur'an. It was like this. According to the abjad system, the numerical value of the word Qur'an is 351. It contains two alifs. If the concealed alif is read alfun, it is alfun with the value of 1,000. Note, according to the rules of grammar, fa'ilun is read fa'ilun, like katfun is read katfun. Therefore, alifun is read alfun. Then it becomes 1351. That is to say, the year 1351 may be called the year of the Qur'an, for during it the strange mystery of the coincidences in the word Qur'an became apparent in the parts of the Risale-i Nur, which is the Qur'an's commentary. The miraculous mystery of the coincidences of the word Allah in the Qur'an appeared the same year. A Qur'an showing the miraculous patterns arranged in a new way was written the same year. That year, students of the Qur'an endeavored to preserve the Qur'anic script with all their strength in the face of its being changed. Important aspects of the Qur'an's miraculousness became apparent that same year. And the same year, numerous events occurred which were related to the Qur'an, and it seems they will continue to occur. Addendum to the 6th section, which is the 6th treatise. 6 questions. This addendum was written in order to avoid the disgust and insults that will be leveled at us in the future. That is to say, it was written so that when it is said, "Look at the spineless people of that age," their spat should not hit us in the face, or else to wipe it off. Let the ears ring of the leaders of Europe, savage beneath their humanitarian masks, and let this be thrust in the unseeing eyes of those unjust oppressors who inflicted these unscrupulous tyrants on us. It is a petition with which to hit over the head the followers of modern low civilization who this century have 100,000 times over necessitated the existence of hell. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. No reason have we why we should not put our trust on God. Indeed, He has guided us to the way we follow. We shall certainly bear with patience all the hurts you may cause us. For those who put their trust should put their trust on God. Recently, the concealed aggression of the irreligious has taken on a most ugly form. Tyrannical aggression against the unfortunate people of belief and against religion. Our private and unofficial call to prayer and iqamah was interrupted during the private worship of myself and one or two brothers in the mosque I myself repaired. "Why are you reciting the iqamah in Arabic and making the call to prayer secretly?" they asked. "My patience is exhausted by keeping silent, so I say, not to those unscrupulous vile men who are not worth addressing, but to the heads of the pharaoh-like society who with arbitrary despotism play with the fate of this nation. O you, people of innovation who have deviated from the straight path of religion, I want the answer to 6 questions. The first, every government in the world, every people which rules, and even cannibals or the chief of a band of brigands have some principle, some law by which they rule. So, according to which principle do you carry out this extraordinary aggression? Show your law. Or do you accept as the law the arbitrary whims of a handful of contemptible officials? Because no law can interrupt private worship in that way, there cannot be such a law. The second, on what force do you rely that you are so bold as to violate the principle of freedom of conscience, which governs almost everywhere in mankind, especially in this age of freedom and in civilized circles, and to treat it lightly and so indirectly to insult mankind and dismiss their objections? What power do you have that you attack religion and the people of religion in this way, as though you had taken irreligion as a religion for yourselves in bigoted fashion, although by calling yourselves secular, you proclaim that you will interfere with neither religion nor irreligion? Such a thing will not remain secret. You will have to answer for it. So what answer will you give? Although you could not hold out against the objections of the smallest of 20 governments, you try to violate by force freedom of conscience, as though you completely disregard the objections of 20 governments. The third, according to what principle do you propose to people like me, who follow the Shafi'i school of law, the Hanafi school, in a way opposed to the elevatedness and purity of that school, due to the false fatwas of certain corrupt religious scholars who have sold their consciences to gain the world? If, after abrogating the Shafi'i school, which has millions of followers, and making them all follow the Hanafi school, it is forcibly proposed to me in tyrannical fashion, it may perhaps be said that it is a principle of irreligious people like you. Otherwise, it is arbitrary and despicable, and we do not follow the whims of people such as that, and we do not recognize them. The fourth, in accordance with which principle do you propose, through a corrupt, innovating fatwa, to perform the ikama in Turkish in a way completely contrary to Turkish nationalism, which is sincerely religious and sincerely respectful towards religion, and has since early times blended and united with Islam in the name of Turkism, which has the meaning of Europeanism, to those like me who belong to another nation? Yes, although I have friendly and brotherly relations with true Turks, I have in no respect any relation with the Turkism of imitators of Europe like you. How can you propose such a thing to me? Through which law? Perhaps if you abolish the nationhood of the Kurds, of whom there are millions and who for thousands of years have not forgotten their nationhood and language, and are the true fellow citizens and companions in jihad of the Turks, and make them forget their language, then perhaps your proposal to those like me who are reckoned to be of a different race would be in accordance with some sort of savage principle. Otherwise, it is purely arbitrary. The arbitrary whims of individuals may not be followed, and we do not follow them. The fifth, a government may apply all laws to its citizens and to those it accepts as its citizens, but it cannot apply its laws to those it does not accept. For they are able to say, since we are not citizens, you are not our government. Furthermore, no government can inflict two penalties at the same time. It either imprisons a murderer or it executes him. To punish by both imprisonment and capital punishment is a principle nowhere. However, despite the fact that I have caused no harm whatsoever to this country and nation, for 8 years you have held me in captivity in a way not inflicted on even a criminal belonging to the wildest and most foreign nation. Although you have pardoned criminals, you have negated my freedom and deprived me of all civil rights. You have not said, he too is a son of this land. So, in accordance with what principle and law do you propose, contrary to the wishes of your nation, these freedom-destroying principles to someone like me, who is a foreigner to you in every respect? Since, in the great war, you have counted as nothing all the heroic deeds to which this person was the means and were testified to by the army's commanders, and considered his self-sacrificing struggles for the sake of this country to be crimes, And since you deemed his preserving the good morality of this unfortunate nation and his serious and effective work to secure its happiness in this world and the next to be treason, and since you have punished for 8 years and now the punishment has been for 28 years, someone who does not for himself accept your injurious, dangerous, arbitrary principles, which in reality are without benefit and spring from unbelief and from Europe, the punishment is the same. I did not accept its application, so you made me suffer it. So, according to what principle is it to enforce a second punishment? The sixth, in view of the treatments you have meted out to me, according to your belief, I oppose you in general fashion. You are sacrificing your religion and life in the hereafter for the sake of your lives in this world. According to you, due to the opposition between us and contrary to you, we are all the time ready to sacrifice our life in this world for our religion and for the hereafter. To sacrifice 2 or 3 years of humiliating life under your domination in order to gain sacred martyrdom is like the water of Kevser for us. However, in order to make you tremble, relying on the effulgence and indications of the all-wise Qur'an, I tell you this with certainty. You shall not live after killing me. You shall be driven out of the world, your paradise and your beloved, by an irresistible hand and swiftly cast into everlasting darkness. Behind me, your Nimrod-like chiefs will be quickly killed and sent to me. In the divine presence, I shall grasp hold of them by their collars, and on divine justice, casting them down to the lowest of the low, I shall take my revenge. O you miserable wretches who sell religion and your lives in the hereafter for this world, if you want to lie, do not interfere with me. I hope from divine mercy that my death will serve religion more than my life and will explode over your heads like a bomb, scattering you. Cause me trouble if you have the courage. If you do anything, you shall see. With all my strength, I proclaim these words in the face of all your threats. Man said to them, a great army is gathering against you, and frightened them, but it only increased their faith. They said, for us God suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Seventh section, the 7 signs. The 7 signs are the answers to 3 questions. The first question consists of 4 signs. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So believe in God and His apostle, the unlettered prophet, who believes in God and His words. Follow him that so you may be guided. Fain would they extinguish God's light with their mouths, but God will not allow but that His light should be perfected, even though the unbelievers may detest it. First sign. Like all the bad things they do, the arguments which those people who are attempting to change the marks of Islam cite to support themselves spring from their blind imitation of Europe. They say, in London, Europeans who have embraced Islam translate many things like the call to prayer and iqamah into their own languages in their own country. The world of Islam says nothing in the face of this and does not object. That must mean it is permissible according to the Sharia, since they are silent. The answer: there is such a glaring difference here that no conscious being could make such a comparison and imitate them. For the European lands are called the abode of war in the terminology of the Sharia, and there are numerous things that are permissible in the abode of war that are not lawful in the abode of Islam. Furthermore, the lands of Europe are the realm of Christendom. They are not an environment that communicates and instills the meanings of the terms of the Sharia and concepts of the sacred words. So, necessarily, the sacred meanings have been preferred to the sacred words. The words have been abundant for the meaning. The lesser of two evils has been chosen. In the abode of Islam, however, the very environment teaches the people of Islam the abbreviated meanings of those sacred words. The conversations of Muslims about Islamic traditions and Islamic history and the marks of Islam and the pillars of Islam all continuously instill in them the concise meanings of those blessed words. In this country, besides the mosques and the madrasas, even the gravestones in the graveyards inculcate those sacred meanings in believers, like teachers, and recall them to them. If, for some worldly advantage, someone who calls himself a Muslim learns 50 words a day from a French dictionary, and then in 50 years does not learn the sacred phrases, "Glory be to God," "All praise be to God," "There is no God but God," and "God is the most great," which are repeated 50 times daily, does he not fall lower than an animal? The sacred words cannot be translated and corrupted and deported for such beasts. To change and deport them means erasing all the gravestones. It means turning all the dead in the graveyards against them, trembling at such an insult. In order to deceive the nation, corrupt religious scholars who have been misled by the irreligious say that, contrary to the other imams, Imam Azam said, if the need arises in distant countries, it is permissible for those who know no Arabic at all to recite the Fatiha in Persian. We are in need of this, so can we recite it in Turkish? The answer: the most important of the leading authorities, as well as the other 12 leading mujtahids, have given fatwas opposing this fatwa of Imam Azam. The great highway of the world of Islam is their highway. The Muslim community may follow it. Those who drive the community towards another, special and narrow, way are leading it astray. Imam Azam's fatwa is particular in 5 respects. Firstly, it addresses people who are far from the center of Islam. Secondly, it is in consequence of real need. Thirdly, according to one narration, it refers only to translations into Persian, which is supposed to be a language of the people of paradise. Fourthly, the ruling is limited to the Fatiha, so that those who do not know it will not give up performing the obligatory prayers. Fifthly, permission was given so that the sacred meanings could be understood by the ordinary people whose Islamic zeal arose from their powerful belief. But to translate them and discard the Arabic original due to weakness of belief, negative nationalism, and hatred for the Arabic language, driven by a destructive urge, will cause people to renounce religion. Second sign: the people of innovation who have changed the marks of Islam first of all sought fatwas from corrupt religious scholars. They had previously pointed out that the fatwa we explained was particular in 5 respects. Secondly, the people of innovation adopted the following inauspicious idea from the European reformists. Being dissatisfied with the Catholic Church, foremost, the revolutionaries, reformists, and philosophers, who were innovators according to the Church, favored Protestantism, which was considered to Mu'tazilat, and taking advantage of the French Revolution, they partially destroyed the Catholic Church and proclaimed Protestantism. Then the pseudo-patriots here, who are accustomed to imitating blindly, said, a revolution like that came about in the Christian religion. At first, the revolutionaries were called apostates, then, later, they were again accepted as Christians. So, why shouldn't there be a similar religious revolution in Islam? The answer: The difference here is even greater than in the false comparison in the first sign, because in the religion of Jesus, upon whom be peace, only the fundamentals of religion were taken from him. Most of the injunctions relating to social life and the secondary matters of the law were formulated by the disciples and other spiritual leaders. The greater part were taken from former holy scriptures. Since Jesus, upon whom be peace, was not a worldly ruler and sovereign, and since he was not the source of general social laws, the fundamentals of his religion were as though clothed with the garments of common laws and civil rules taken from outside, having been given a different form and called the Christian law. If this form is changed and the garment transformed, the fundamental religion of Jesus, upon whom be peace, may persist. It does not infer denying or giving the lie to Jesus himself, upon whom be peace. However, the glory of the world, upon whom be blessings and peace, was the founder of the religion and Sharia of Islam. He was the sovereign of this world and the next, and the east and west, and Andalusia and India were his seat of rule. He himself, therefore, both taught the fundamentals of the religion of Islam and brought its secondary matters and other injunctions, including even minor matters of conduct. He himself taught them, he commanded them. That is to say, the secondary matters of Islam are not like a garment capable of change, so that if they are changed, the essential religion will persist. They are rather a sort of body for the fundamentals of religion, or at least a skin. They have blended and combined with it and cannot be separated. To change them infers direct denial and contradiction of the one who brought the Sharia. As for the differences in the schools of law, this has arisen from differences in ways of understanding the theoretical principles shown by the Sharia's owner. Principles called the essentials of religion, which are not open to interpretation, and those called incontrovertible, cannot be changed in any way and may not be interpreted. Anyone who does change them quits the religion and is included under the rule. They renounce religion as the arrow flies from the bow. The people of innovation have found the following pretexts for their irreligion and deviation from the straight path. They say the French Revolution was the cause of a sequence of events in the world of humanity. The clergy and spiritual leaders and the Catholic Church, which was their church, were attacked and eliminated. Later, the revolution was condemned by a lot of people. Also, the French made greater progress. Is this not so? The answer: like with the previous comparisons, the differences here are clear. For in France, the Christian religion, and particularly the Catholic Church, had for a long time been a means of domination and despotism in the hands of the upper and ruling classes. It was the means by which they perpetuated their hold over the ordinary people. And since it was through the Catholic Church that the patriots were oppressed, who among the common people were awakened and were called Jacobins, and the freedom-seeking thinkers were persecuted, who attacked the despotism of the upper class tyrants, and since for nearly 400 years the Catholic Church had been an imputed cause, through revolutions in Europe, of overturning the stability of social life, it had been attacked, not in the name of irreligion, but by the other Christian sects. A feeling of indignation and enmity arose among the common people and the philosophers, as a result of which the above-mentioned historical event took place. However, no oppressed person and no thinker has the right to complain about the religion of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, and the Sharia of Islam. For it does not injure them, it protects them. Islamic history is there for all to see. Apart from one or two incidents, no internal wars of religion have occurred. whereas the Catholic Church caused 400 years of internal revolutions. Furthermore, Islam has been the stronghold of the common people rather than of the upper classes. Through enjoining the payments of zakat and prohibiting usury and interest, it has made the upper classes not despots over the common people, but servants in a way. It says, "The master of a people is its servant, and the best of people is the one most useful to people." Also, through sacred phrases like, "So will they not think? So will they not reflect on it? So will they not reason?" The all-wise Qur'an calls on the intellect to testify. It warns, refers to the reason, it urges investigation. Through this, it accords scholars and the people of reason a position, it gives them importance. It does not dismiss the reason like the Catholic Church. It does not silence thinkers or require blind imitation of them. Since the fundamentals of, not through Christianity, but the present-day Christian religion and the fundamentals of Islam have parted on another important point, they go their separate ways in many respects like the above-mentioned differences. The important point is this: Islam is the religion of the true affirmation of divine unity, so that it dismisses intermediaries and causes. It breaks egotism and establishes sincere worship. It cuts at the root every sort of false dominicality, starting from that of the soul, and rebuffs it. It is because of this that if a person of high position from the upper class is going to be completely religious, he will have to give up his egotism. If he does not give up egotism, he will lose his strength of religion and to an extent give up his religion. As for the Christian religion of the present day, since it has accepted the belief of Jesus, upon whom be peace, being the Son of God, it ascribes an actual effect to causes and intermediaries. It cannot break egotism in the name of religion. Rather, saying that egotism is the holy deputy of Jesus, upon whom be peace, it ascribes it as sacredness. For this reason, members of the Christian upper classes who occupy the highest worldly positions may be completely religious. In fact, there are many like the former American President Wilson and the former British Prime Minister Lloyd George, who were as religious as bigoted priests. But any Muslims who rise to those positions rarely remain completely religious and firm in their religion, for they cannot give up their pride and egotism, and true taqwa cannot be combined with pride and egotism. Yes, just as the religious bigotry of the Christian upper class and slackness in religion of the Muslim upper class demonstrate an important difference, so the fact that the philosophers who emerged from Christianity were indifferent towards religion or else opposed it, while the great majority of those who emerged from Islam constructed their philosophy on Islamic fundamentals, demonstrates yet another important difference. Furthermore, generally, ordinary Christians who have fallen on hard times or are sent to prison cannot expect assistance from religion. Formerly, most of them became irreligious. In fact, the revolutionaries famous in history who instigated the French Revolution and were called irreligious Jacobins were mostly disaster-stricken common people, whereas in Islam, the great majority of those who suffer disaster or imprisonment await succor from religion and they become religious. This situation too demonstrates an important difference.